Hi guys, okay, so this is chapter 1 of 14 chapters. The text will be written in the description box underneath. As and when you purchase these as a podcast, you will get the full PDF of the whole information. That wasn't quite English. You will get the full PDF of all of the questions. There are about 40 questions per podcast, and there are 14. Okay, so we've got enough to go on. So let's look at question 1. So we're looking at chapter 1. Okay, so and this is a sample of what you will get in the rest of the podcast. I just wanted to give you guys a sample of what it would be like. Right, so A-level grammar exercises. Can I remind you, you do not need to be doing A-level. A-level is the exam in England where you would be preparing to go to university. They are just a nice level to check what your written and reading French is like with grammar. Okay, so choisissez le bon mot, choose the right word. Okay, l'homme qui, que ou dont j'ai vu était de taille moyenne. L'homme qui, que ou dont j'ai vu était de taille moyenne. So any ideas? This one would be l'homme que j'ai vu. The simple reason here is qui versus que. So if you go to my video and you type videos and you type relative pronouns, or you type in qui or que, a video will come up explaining the difference between qui and que. The general rule is A to B equals qui. Qui is going to be used to connect something on the left to the verb on the right. So for example, the woman that loves me, la femme qui m'aime, as opposed to the woman that I love. So in the first example, the woman that loves me, the woman is doing the loving. So la femme qui. This does not matter whether you are a person. This does not matter whether you are a chair, a chest of drawers. So qui is going to link what was on the left to what was on the right. Okay. Que will be generally introducing a new, not always, but in this kind of situation, we'll be introducing a new subject pronoun. So you'll be introducing somebody to do a verb. So because it's the man I saw, you are introducing, it's not the man doing the verb. It's not the man doing the verb, so therefore we will need a que. Okay. Dont would be if you were referring to a verb which had used a de, and that's not the case. So the only answer there can be l'homme que j'ai vu était de taille moyenne. So the man I saw was of an average size. Okay. Careful with the pronunciation of moyenne as opposed to moyen, which is the masculine form. Okay, so he's a masculine guy, but taille is a feminine word. Number 2. Je suis prêt à tout faire. Je suis prêt à tous faire. Je suis prêt à tout faire. Which one are we going to do? Je suis prêt à tous. Je suis prêt à tout. Je suis prêt à toutes. So firstly, the pronunciation of prêt there is P-R-E-T, would be prêt. If you just said, I'm ready, ouais, je suis prêt. Ouais, je suis prêt, on va partir. But when it links to the a, we will commonly have prêt à. As in the sandwich shop, prêt à manger, as in ready-to-wear collections, prêt à porter. Tous is occasionally pronounced tous or tout. It depends what's going on. So we're all going to eat, on va tous manger. In that context, you would use a tous compared to, for example, all the boys, tous les garçons. So there's a video on whether to pronounce it tous or tout. If you just typed tous into my channel, you will find that. So which one do we want here? Je suis prêt à tout faire. I'm ready to do anything. It will be the middle one, tout. The standard word for all, when you refer to all, is tout, masculine singular by default. It works like an adverb sometimes, so I've eaten everything, j'ai tout mangé, versus je mange tout. Be careful with the placement of it, okay? So I've eaten everything, j'ai tout mangé. I've eaten all the cake. J'ai mangé tout le gâteau. Be careful, if it connects to a noun, it's going to go at the end of the sentence, all right? So I think what bothers people is that they think with the word all that you're obviously going to have a plural word, but all can be all of a singular concept. I used all my intelligence. Yeah, not a lot of that. Toute mon intelligence. It's a singular female. So be careful, yeah? Be careful. Lovely. I can hear my cleaner vacuuming. What perfect timing. So, number 3. Si j'étais à ta place, je parlerais à la police. So if I were in your place, I would speak, I will speak. So I was speaking, I will speak, I would speak to the police. So this is just tense recognition. The first one, parlais, aies. So the problem here is you start to recognize endings. Be very careful with endings. And the reason being that AIS is the same spelling as the ending on the was and on the would. The difference being that one is halfway through the word. If you took the gerund parlons, parler, and the other one is on the end of the infinitive. So be careful with parler versus parlerai. All right. So si j'étais à ta place, je parlerais versus je parlais. The difference in the spelling of AI and AIS on the end is one is the will and one is the would. So you have to be very careful with that. So if you're first person, I will speak, je parlerai, I would speak, je parlerai. There's in years gone by, there's been slight slants in pronunciation between the balance of that pronunciation, but largely it's identical. You just know what's going on according to the concept, which brings us to si j'étais à ta place, if I were in your place, if I were you. So this is the famous hypothetical, the present hypothetical. So if this is something that you don't understand, go to the YouTube channel, type hypothetical or present hypothetical or imperfect and conditional. So very, very commonly, if it's about something you can still have happen, but you're talking hypothetically, if I were hungry, I would do this, you are going to use a combination of was and would. Yeah, so for example, if I wanted to do it, I would do it. Si je voulais le faire, je le ferais. Not to be confused with if I had wanted to do it, I would have done it, for example. Or here, if I had been in your place, I would have spoken to the police. That's something about the past you can no longer change. So this is a hypothetical you could still change. This is the present hypothetical, the was and the would tenses. Be very much aware that the was and the would could go the other way around. Yeah, it could go, I would speak to the police if I were in your place. And secondly, be very much aware that just because you've got the word if does not mean that it's going to be the was and the would. It could, for example, be if you want, si tu veux. The word please, s'il te plaît. So don't assume that si always gives me the imperfect and the conditional. You will have just done a lot of examples like that with your teacher. The word place there, place, obviously we have endroit, like it's a really nice place, un bel endroit, au lieu de, in place of. So there's different words for place in French, but à ta place means, if I were in your place, if I were you. Okay. Number 4. So in other words, then it will be je parlerai, the last one, AIS. Number 4. C'est la fille la plus intelligente. Make sure we're pronouncing this intelligente. Que je connaisse, que je connais, que je sache. C'est la fille la plus intelligente que je connaisse, que je connais, que je sache. This will be the first one. The reason being that if you are talking in a superlative way, like the most something or other I've ever done, it would largely use the subjunctive. There are debates either side. If you want to read something really interesting and your French is up to it, go on the Projet Voltaire, which is where French first language speakers debate certain grammatical points. But it's nice French to do that. So you will have used that and your teachers or I myself won't have corrected you because, for example, if you said something like, oh, Luke, it's the best Mexican food I've ever had. C'est la meilleure cuisine mexicaine que j'ai jamais eue. The j'ai there would sound the same as the normal I have. It's only if it were anybody else. So, for example, it's the best Mexican food that he's ever had. Alors, c'est la meilleure cuisine mexicaine qu'il ait jamais eue. You'd hear the subjunctive. Okay, so superlative statements, extreme statements like that, the most, the best, the worst, will use the subjunctive. It's going to be the verb connaisse because it's to know a person is connaître. Sache there is the subjunctive from the verb savoir. Okay, so no. So in other words, it's number 1. Number 5, il a refusé. So you then have a choice. This is a simple basic ass choice between il a refusé de et il a refusé à. And I'm afraid it's il a refusé de. Okay? When you have a preposition, just get into the habit of saying them and your mouth will get into the habit of saying them. I can't recommend you for one video of mine which will deal entirely with at and de. There's some great at and de videos, but it's just such a huge topic. All I'd point out there would be you can sometimes have a refusé à if it was a nominal phrase like à manger, like something to eat. So, il refuse à manger, he refuses something to eat. No, il a refusé à manger, he refused something to eat. a thing, something to eat. That's like quelque chose à manger, quelque chose à boire. Il a refusé à boire. But he refuses verbally to eat or drink, refusé de. Okay? Good. Number 6. Oh yes. So, il me semble que tu as, que tu aies raison. Il me semble que tu as, que tu aies raison. Let's just identify what they all are. The you have, so indicative present. You are subjunctive. You have subjunctive, and you are the verb to be, which sounds the same as the verb to have in the subjunctive. So which one is it going to be? So this is debated very much backwards and forwards again by French speakers. And I know where teachers that write this kind of stuff, first language English teachers who are trying to get this into you, it's a little bit more soutenu, like a little bit more elegant to do this. If you are, semble can go both ways. Trust me, I get that problem. if you, semble will generally go on, so the certainty of a situation. So for example, if you were saying, it seems that you're right, and they're not necessarily, let me think about it. So if you said, oh, it seems you might be right. Okay, it seems you might be right. You know, there's some sort of debate about that. Well, it seems you might be right. You know, we'll have to go and check it out. As opposed to, oh, it seems you're right. If you're using it seems to introduce, well, this is the case. This is definitely the case here. Then that will be indicative. And if you were using seems, for example, as in, well, it seems he's, you know, missed the bus. Then that would be subjunctive. So an example that you often get with this is it seems they've gotten lost. So you don't know for a fact that they've gotten lost. So for example, il semble qu'il se soit perdu. You know, it seems he's late. He might not be late. Oh, there he is. No, he's okay. Il semble qu'il soit en retard. Oh no, he isn't late. So in other words, it's down to the certainty of your seem. So for my mind, this one, it seems that you're right, is said with some certainty. So for my mind, that would be the indicative normal. So il me semble que tu as raison. Which brings us to number 7. Il semble que les Français ont, aies, ou soient gagné. Il semble que les Français ont, aies, soient gagné. So recognition of tenses, ont is have in the indicative, the normal, aies is subjunctive have, and soit is the verb to be. Okay, be very careful about this. They're not being stupid. They know that people prefer certain subjunctives over others. Certain subjunctives will catch your eye. Okay, so a lot of the time I'll ask my students to do something. They'll come up with something fabulous. They know, for example, that Bianca takes the subjunctive, and they will race like a mofo into the word soit. And I'm like, great, it takes subjunctive, but the verb here isn't the verb to be. So in other words, il semble que is just it seems as opposed to it seems to me. That's not the issue here. The issue here is that it seems that the French have won. They might not have won. So this would be like at a point in a match where you were saying, seems like the French have won, but they then might go on to lose. So that's the idea. If you were using seems as in, you know, well, seems the French have won, sarcastically, and they have already won, then you could get away with that being indicative. But on this one then, because it's the context of the situation is you're not reporting 100% correctly that the French have definitely won, so that would be a subjunctive. Anything like this you don't understand, go to my channel, type subjunctive, all the videos are there. Good. Number 8. Après avoir, après être, après ayant parti, il nous a téléphoné. Okay, so which one is it? Avoir, être, or ayant? So the answer is number 2, après être parti. So firstly, we are looking at après être or après avoir. We are looking at an infinitive after après there because it's the same person. So in other words, if you have after, plenty of videos on this, go to the channel, type après or avant or before and after. If you are dealing with the same person, so after eating, Luc, whatever drinks the coffee, you will have après plus avoir or après plus être. Yeah? If it's a different person, so after Luke ate, Robbie made him a coffee, Après que, plus a subjunctive on the avant que, pardon me, plus indicative on the après que. So the fact that it's après and the same person, so after this person left, he telephoned us, we know it's going to be either après avoir or après être. Partir is an être verb. So if your verb is an être verb, je suis parti, it will be après être. None of those will change. There will never be a change between après avoir or après être dependent on what the verb was. If it's je me suis lavé, après m'être lavé. If it's j'ai mangé, après avoir mangé. If it's je suis parti, après être parti. So it will be après être. Ayant, you will have come across, it depends what you're doing with your teacher. So in English, it's having left is a kind of more elegant way of saying after they left or after leaving, whatever, having left. Can I be very clear in French? You can use that. You can even use it with a different person. A lot of people don't realize you can say Luke having left, everybody else cheered. But that then would be using either ayant or étant, which is a little bit more elegant. So again, having, that would suggest cause and effect. So having eaten the gluten, Luke was sick, as in cause and effect rather than just timeline. And again, it's quite elegant. So it's nice for essays. So having won the war, the Allies decided to, whatever, that you could use in an essay for A-level. That would be lovely. But don't forget, you could quite happily say after winning the war, après avoir gagné la guerre, whatever, all right? So it's the same chapter of sorts, but the answer here is après être, not après avoir, après ayant, okay? He telephoned us, il nous a téléphoné. Lovely. Number 9, same concept. Avant de, aies téléphoné, B téléphonant, C téléphoné. Il a cherché le numéro. So none of these are stupid guesses. I can see what the teacher's meaning. So avant de téléphoner, orally, you'll be used to saying that, or you'll be used to hearing that. So téléphoner there is a homonym. It sounds the same as téléphone.